Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Biddison and I'm going to be reviewing IO product information, data that will be collected for every IO, every division, globally, effective January 1st, 2015. We'll start with the basic overview of what IO product information is and then cover the definitions for each field that will be collected. This is really the meat of this presentation. Then we'll cover how these fields impact the rate card. Note there are two versions of this presentation, one for US-Canadian markets and one for all other markets. You are listening to the presentation for the US and Canadian markets. First, a high-level overview of the product information. What? For every placement in every IO, you'll need to select division, what audience is being targeted, what inventory is being targeted, what creative units will be used, what is the metric that the client is paying, and any additional targeting. Why? We're currently making this a global mandatory process since we currently capture these fields only in a few countries. Capturing this data will give us greater visibility into network dynamics and what we're selling. These will also impact how sales commissions are being calculated. Where? This data ultimately lives in Expo 9, but will be gathered either via product sold template for agency IOs or directly in Expo 9 for Expo's IOs. Who? Based on your country's process, either sales reps or sales planning will be responsible for completing this. And lastly, when? All 2015 IOs will need this information. It will be collected prior to launch, either during the IO submission phase for agency IOs or the IO creation phase for exponential IOs. Again, there are two ways to collect this product information. When you create an IO via Expo 9, you'll select the fields from drop-downs found in Expo 9, or if it's an agency IO, you'll collect this information via a product sold template, which is what the US market has been doing to date already. When I mentioned that this presentation is adapted for the US-Canadian markets, it's because the product sold template will only be used in the US and Canadian markets for agency IOs. In all other countries, all of their IOs are created in Expo 9. The product sold template needs to be attached to the new IO email sent to SalesFax. Until this process is integrated into Expo Task, it will be continued to be done by email as shown. OMS may have clarification questions if the IO and the product sold template aren't aligned. These can be addressed through email. Here's a screenshot of the product sold template, which is an Excel sheet. There needs to be one product sold template per IO. You'll need to complete everything surrounded by the blue boxes. Using the drop-downs, you'll select division, metric, inventory, audience, creative, and additional targeting. If you select yes to do all placements have the same, then the cells will auto-populate with what you selected for the first placement. Note that this screenshot is of the old product sold template. This will be updated for January and sent out. OMS will then gather this information into Expo 9 for you. Again, this is only to be used for agency IOs. For exponential IOs, the product information fields will be selected directly in Expo 9. If you don't know how to create an IO in Expo 9, Manpreet will provide training on this if he hasn't already. Internal product selection of open or select will no longer be valid. This is because we'll be using product information selections to determine open or select categorization. The product information fields are the drop-down menus in the green boxes, and these will be again mandatory for every line item in every IO. The first field collected is division, which should be self-explanatory. Worth calling out, all of these slides as well as a one-page summary will be available on ExpoNet. The second field is metric. Remember, what you select is how the IO was sold, not how we manage the campaign in Expo 9. For example, if the client is paying cost per engagement, we may run this internally as a CPC or CPM. You should still select CPE, since this is how the client is paying. There are 4 potential CPM metrics. CPM branding is pure branding, zero performance. This is when the client's only goal is reach and audience targeting. All divisions can run this metric. CPM with CTR goal is a client paying on a CPM basis, and their main goal is site traffic or driving clicks. There's typically a target CTR or an effective CPC that they wish to hit. CPM with CPA goal is a client paying on a CPM basis, but they want their campaign optimized towards a specific action, for example, an email sign-up or a purchase. Having a pixel in place to optimize towards is the most efficient way to run this campaign. And lastly, a CPM net block is again a pure branding campaign, but over a short duration of time. For example, promoting a new movie release or an upcoming holiday weekend sale. The criteria for a net block is that the duration is 5 days or less, and the spend is $10K per day in the US, Australia, Canadian, and UK markets. There are also 2 CPA choices. Now note, CPA is a metric that is only permitted in certain countries, namely the US. There are also 2 CPA choices. View-based CPA is a client paying only for a specific action, like a purchase. Clients will value conversions driven by an impression within a set look-back window. This is sometimes called I2C or impression to conversion. Alternatively, a click-based CPA only requires a client to pay for an action that was driven directly from a user clicking on a banner. This is sometimes called C2C. Here's a summary of the metrics that are available for each division. For example, view-based CPA is a metric only sold via TravelFusion. Now we get into targeting, audience, and inventory. There's often confusion between these two, and the thing that you need to know is that every campaign will have both audience and inventory. Audience is the users who you target, and inventory is the sites on which you target. First, let's review the different audience targeting options. Again, who you're targeting the campaign to. This can range from very broad, like all users in the network, to very limited, auto in market for a luxury sedan, for example. First, all audiences, or ROA, run of audience. This means you're targeting 100% of users in the exponential network. This is the broadest audience targeting. All audiences with retargeting is once again 100% of users, but the client has explicitly requested to identify a retargeting population that you will also target. Exponential audience blend is a new name for internal audience blend. This is targeting all audiences as well as an upweight to an audience found in Exponential's topic tree. For example, the Hilton hotel chain wants to target all users in the network, but wants to focus on the hotel seeker population. This is sometimes referred to as ROA+, in particular the UK market. This is by far the most popular audience targeting. With Expo audience blends, inventory best practice is to target all sites. We don't want to restrict access to users by blocking any sites. Third-party audience blends is a new name for external audience blends. Similar to Expo audience blends, this is targeting all audiences with an upweight to an audience, but this time the audience is from a third-party vendor, for example, Bluekai or Bizu. For example, Honda, the auto manufacturer, wants to target all users in the network, but wants to focus on the eco-friendly auto intenders for their new hybrid vehicle campaign. As with Expo audience blends, all sites or run of network is best practice for inventory targeting. Interest-based audiences is targeting an audience subset from Exponential topic tree. For example, only users who have the home and family attributes. This is for clients who are more focused on a specific audience, and it's more of a branding solution. Again, you don't want to limit access to already smaller population of users. All sites is best practice for inventory targeting. Third-party audiences only is exactly that. We only target users who have attributes as defined by a third-party vendor. Scale can be very limited in this branding solution, and it's not an option for all business units in all countries. An example is a US Czech snack mix campaign that targeted only the Datalogic gluten-free audience. Inventory best practice is again all sites. The final 4 are less common audience targeting solutions. Retargeting only signifies only showing impressions to an audience that's been identified via a pixel. Typically, those are people who are visited a site. Then is first-party audiences via DMP, or data management platform. This is a more sophisticated targeting solution that requires data integration, and for this reason, Lucinda Goucher from PSO should be involved in all pre-sale conversations for this audience targeting solution. An example is Best Buy, an electronics retailer. They pay BlueKai to collect data on their website via pixels. They process and segment the data. For example, they'll create categories like TV and DVD players. BlueKai then buckets these users via cookies, and then Exponential targets those cookies. Lookalike is using exponential or third-party data and building an audience model. Then, the highest lift audiences are scaled to reach similar users in the network. Lastly is Prospect. This is only Tribal Fusion. Simply put, this is targeting a prospect audience, used to find new users via arrow optimization. Because it's only new users, there's no retargeting population. Not all audiences can be targeted in all divisions, so here's a chart for your reference. Inventory must also be selected for every placement. There's 6 options. The first is the broadest. All sites are run of network. This is targeting 100% of the sites in the network. Note there are some countries that by default block sites for all of their campaigns. So remember, I/O product fields are based on the I/O sold. So from the client's perspective, you're still targeting 100% of the sites in the exponential network. So in this case, you would still select all sites RON. Channel is the next option, whereby a client indicates a specific channel to target. Here it's entertainment. So only entertainment sites will be targeted. When the inventory is constrained to a number of sites, it's best practice to keep audience targeting as open as possible to not limit reach. All sites with client blocks is next. This used to be called Select ROA. This is when a client provides you with a list of sites or channels to be blocked, or blacklist. This should definitely be part of the pre-sale conversation. This would be selected when proactive blocking is used against a site list or for brand-sensitive advertisers that want to avoid running on certain sites. A custom site list is a client-provided list of sites, often called a whitelist. The campaign can only run on the approved sites. Similar to channel only, it's best practice to target all audiences. Site-specific is less common. It's when a campaign targets only one site. The reach is very narrow, and for this reason, the targeting is not an option for all divisions. You should certainly consult with the divisional heads or specialist to check avails for this targeting. As with other narrow inventory targeting, open audiences is best practice. Lastly is mobile web. This is targeting a site via a mobile device. Worth noting is the difference of this inventory for each division. It's not an option for Firefly campaigns. For Tribal Fusion, this would be selected when a performance display campaign wants to extend its reach onto mobile sites. For AddoTube, this would only be used for mobile pre-roll campaigns. And for AppSnack, mobile web is a default setting for all campaigns, except for in-app. Therefore, you should always select another inventory targeting in this list 1 through 5. For example, channel only, as mobile web is assumed as always on. So in summary, here's the inventory targeting matrix as broken out by division. The 5th product to select is creative. These will vary based on the division that is running. These should be fairly self-explanatory. Lastly is miscellaneous targeting. These are new to the product field dropdowns, and as you may have guessed, come from the rate card. A placement can have more than one of these targeting constraints on a given placement. First is in-country geo, which is a specific city or state within a country, like Paris, France. Frequency cap I/O mandated is when a client specifies a certain frequency cap to be applied to the campaign. Daytime parting is when the campaign can only show impressions during certain times of the day or days of the week. For example, a McDonald's breakfast campaign will only want to run from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. OS, browser, IP targeting are the operating systems in the browsers, like Safari, Internet Explorer, Android. And lastly, device is when you only want to target tablet, smartphones, or PCs. Now for AppSnag campaigns, OS and device targeting is a default setting, so these should always be selected for AppSnag placements. The second portion of miscellaneous targeting covers viewability and verification, something that we're seeing more and more and we currently don't track. These should definitely be part of your presale conversation. Viewability, verification blocking, and verification monitoring are the options. Here's a breakout of the miscellaneous targeting by division. Again, you can select more than one here for any given line item. To check accuracy of these fields, there'll be a regular check comparing the IO product fields with the campaign. Any inconsistencies will be flagged and sent to the sales team once per month to be reviewed. You should address the report with OMS and update in Expo 9 as needed. There may be cases that are being flagged incorrectly, and these should be communicated to OMS. If Expo 9 is not updated within 5 business days, we'll assume the report is accurate and automatically update the system. Now, not only are the product fields important for network trends and takeaways, but these will directly impact open and select categorization. Since the product fields are determining open or select, we've updated the rate card to align with the product fields. For example, Audience Blends, US only, is now broken into Expo Audience Blend and third-party Audience Blend. The only change in open or select categorization is the move of retargeting that used to be in open and is now in select. In order for a rate to be open, both inventory and audience targeting must be in this category. For example, all sites RON with all audiences. If there is all audiences, which is open, and all sites with client blocks, which is select, this will be a select rate. If you've already submitted an IO that will run in 2015, these will be identified and we'll be requesting that you provide product fields. Stay tuned for an email on that. If there are any changes to a campaign, for example, verification blocking is added, you'll have to update these fields in Expo 9. You can do this while a campaign is live. If any change constitutes a move from open to select, for example, inventory targeting is changed, a new IO and therefore new product fields will need to be submitted. So that completes this presentation. Remember, this deck and a one-page summary will be available via ExpoNet. As always, please reach out to myself or Maya for any questions. Thank you.